Hi everybody, welcome out to the Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures, the Adventures of Making the Angry Video Game Nerd Game panel.
The panel.
Yes, for sure. Hey, I'm Craig, and this is Chad.
How's it going?
And we're missing one person on this panel who's probably the most important person from the panel, but he lives in Europe and he's not here today. We'll talk about him here in just a little bit. His name is Sam. He works at Freakzone Games. We'll talk about him a lot on this panel. And we just wanted to talk to you guys about the process of making a game, because making video games is something that I think everybody at MAGFest, everybody who's ever played a video game, anybody who's ever seen a video game is like, wow, that'd be really cool to do, right? So we're like, let's do it. So we tried, and here's the game. How many of y'all have played the game, Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures? Okay. How many of y'all have not played the game? Okay, good.
All right.
This is good. This is great.
Oh, this one's fun too. How many of you got really pissed off at the game?
Fuck you.
Now, how many of you felt ridiculously rewarded when you actually beat a level? There we go.
All right.
That's why it's hard.
Same guy was like, fuck you, it was like me.
It was a weird sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, that's the idea, exactly. We say it's the most rewarding game of 2013 because it's one of those games that when you play it, you're going to get beaten down, almost to submission, and...
Like, I swear at the game, I'm like, oh, that's bullshit, you know, and then, you know, you get a little bit like,
yeah, exactly. So when you beat it, you actually feel like you've done something. We wanted to make a game that when you finish, you felt good, you felt rewarded like you just finished playing an old school 8-bit NES game that, in theory, those games are like 45 minutes, an hour long, but you played them for months. And that's, you know, not because there weren't a zillion games, it's because you can only afford one,
right.
You know, and you're a kid, right?
Nowadays, you buy a game and you pretty much know you're going to beat it. You know, it's just a question of time, you know, whatever. But back in the day, like, I mean, I had a ton of games in my library, like NES games, that I just never beat.
Yeah.
Because they just kept going or they were too hard or whatever. So, like, you know, we wanted that kind of nostalgic feeling of, like, you know, actually really feeling accomplished when you beat a game. So
For sure.
It's a really cool project.
Like, how many of y'all played Battletoads before? How many of y'all think that Battletoads is a good game? How many of y'all beat Battletoads? Oh, they got
Game Genie.
Exactly, yeah, Game Genie, exactly. There's no Game Genie for this! So yeah, we figured we'd talk about kind of the process of how it all got started, where the ideas came from, the original conception of the game, and...
tell some stories and do some Q&A.
Yeah, exactly. So originally when we get the question a lot, first off, we've been working with James and Cinemasker and the Angry Video Game Nerd character since 2006. We've had a really long relationship with James. We're friends. More than anything, I think James just trusts us. He trusts us to do the right thing with, I don't know, nobody likes to like refer to a brand, but I mean, he has a brand, an Angry Video Game Nerd, so he trusts us to do the right thing. So we've been looking to do a game for literally years. Like, I'm like, we gotta do a game, and I thought, you know, doing something around Angry Video Game Nerd would be perfect because, you know, how much fun would it be to have a game based around a character that makes fun of shitty games, right? So we were approached well, I guess it initially started with a review we did on the site for a game called Manos: The Hands of Fate. Is anyone familiar with Manos: The Hands of Fate?
The movie, that horrible movie.
So, how many there's a movie, and the idea behind the movie is that it's widely considered to be like one of the worst movies ever made. Well, this guy, this company Freakzone, made a game based off of it, and it was like an iOS game, and he pulled off
a little retro platform.
Yeah, exactly. He did a phenomenal job pulling off like making the game feel like a shitty movie while still playing. It was pretty remarkable. So I reviewed it, and I actually really liked it. And about a month later, he approached me about possibly making a nerd game. He's like, "Hey, I've been trying to reach out to the master, and then I haven't got any luck hearing back." So I was like, "Well, hey, well, you know, we do a lot of stuff with them." So we started talking about it. Asked Sam to put together like just a kind of a proposal. He did so. About a week later, he got me this full like mock-up of his vision of the game, and it was probably 15 pages long. Just, you know, these are the characters I want to include. These are the levels I want to do. This is my vision for the game. And the game actually started out. You saw.
Much different.
Yeah, you saw Chad playing the game, and now it's like kind of this. We're calling it like 12-bit, like somewhere between 8 and 16-bit. But it originally started off as an 8-bit platformer, which we actually have a picture of kind of the original sprites for it. Which they're not that far off, but you'll see a lot of kind of where, if you've seen Manos the game, you'll see a lot of inspiration drawn from that. It was, yeah, you can sprite. So,
It actually opens. Come on, why is it interneting?
Oh, it does that. You right
Because it's a gift.
Photo gallery. Yeah, open with.
Like,
Yeah.
photo galleries.
There.
No, it's a gift.
So that was the original sprites for the game, and you see it's kind of, when we looked at it, we were like, hey, that's cool, but like, why are we going to limit ourselves with, you know, with like 8-bit? This is, you
Because
know,
we knew we were going to build it for, you know, Steam, as opposed to like trying to put it on a retro cartridge. Because, well, that would be cool. Like, much more people could actually play the game if we put it on Steam as opposed to an NES card. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I'm a huge, if anybody like goes to Screw Attack, they know that I'm a big fan of color in video games. I love color, I love bright colors, I love things that, you know, that draw you in. And this is cool, and it's using like an NES color palette, but it's, you know, why limit yourself, right? And now, if you look at a game like Battle Kid, right, that made the game entirely around NES specs with NES technology, that's fucking awesome, because it was on the NES, right? But we're making the game for Steam, we wanted to get it in as many people's hands as possible.
We can cheat a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So we took the next step, turned it into, we didn't want to go like a full 60-bit, so we kind of went somewhere in between, which is kind of the end result of the game. And after we settled on, initially, you know, the final 4 characters in the game that you can play as in the final build were the nerd, guitar guy, Mike, and Bullshit Man. But they weren't the initial 4 characters we designed in the initial mock-up. The original idea behind the game was the nerd and his internet friends getting together to conquer kind of the internet, you know, pretty much internet haters and stuff. So, and that morphed over time. We're like, well, you know, Mike's a cool character, guitar guy's awesome, and, you know, Bullshit Man will work. And so we initially had, you know, a lot of the cameos you actually see in the game now were actually meant to be playable characters in the game. You know, we have a lot of Screw Attack features, a lot of our friends ended up, you know, appearing in the game. It was one of those things where, who doesn't want to be in a video game? Yeah, you like email your friends like, hey, we're making this game, you want to be in it? Fuck yeah! it was pretty cool. So, especially when, you know, you see yourself as a little sprite, that was the coolest thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, we put ourselves in there, we couldn't resist.
so we, Sam actually sent over like the first ever build of the game, which you want to pull it up really quick. This is the first thing we ever saw in the game. This is like the first time we knew that, like, okay, this is going to be pretty cool. And you'll see, test, yeah. So this was actually the first thing you saw after, you know, we had like Keith up there and myself, no music, and the snake itself is actually lifted directly from Nanos.
We don't have controllers.
Yeah, and there's no controller support, you gotta play it on a keyboard and stuff. But, you know, just the idea was simple. Look, you can run, you can jump, and...
Can I jump?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Something control. So, anyways, it's pretty, you can see like the actual final sprite of James didn't change a whole lot. And I'm like reading like I just ran a 10K, but...
I can't, it's invincible. Enemy crouch. I don't think you can kill it.
You can kill it? Oh yes, you can kill it. You just gotta be good.
Yeah!
See that incredible death animation? So this is actually a pretty good talking point because the death animations in the game, like just shit just flies everywhere. There's like 14 rib cages flying out from everything you killed, and there's blood everywhere. Everything's exploding.
That was all great.
Yeah, and I was like, if we're gonna do this, it needs to be crazy.
Just make it ridiculous. Yeah, like think like Mortal Kombat and other things. Like yeah, like a million rib cages and just astronomical guts and gore, and it really added a lot. Actually. Yeah, and I think it was fun. It was fun to kind of see the progression of it because initially it was like sit over this tiny little like, and I was like, no more, more. It was like a mad scientist, more Sam, more. That was actually really cool. Like you know, getting to work on the game was like you know Sam's such a phenomenal developer that we were like, hey, what if we did this? And then like a day, there's like a build over and that's there, and it's like holy shit! Like I thought of that, and it's in a video game now. Like,
so. We want to be clear, like Sam was the developer of the game. We worked from the publishing side. The publishing side is a lot of...
We didn't even say our status. I'm the assistant creative director at AVGN Adventures. He's the creative director.
I'm Craig. Yeah, it's one of those things where the game was developed in Multimedia Fusion 2. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that software, but Sam is a wizard at that software.
Yeah.
And some of there's some really great games that have been developed in that. So our role was essentially taking our ideas, working with Sam, and Sam would essentially serve as the painter and put it together. And we were kind of telling him what to paint, I guess.
And I feel really bad too, because he was so great about it, and it was just so easy to work with that we ended up adding so much shit to the game that wasn't supposed to be there initially. Like it was supposed to be a much more basic game, but then we kind of lost our minds and got excited because we're making a game that's like, all right, we're gonna do this. So the original project timeline was much shorter, and then we expanded it way out. But hearing Sam talk about it, he's like, it's like a completely different game for what we have now.
Let's actually show something that actually added to it. Go to the other builds we have in there. One of the big most memorable parts of the game is a part on essentially you're in hell. And if you can go there. So this is my first. Oh, actually, this is a lot more fleshed out than I should have.
It's like Mega Man.
But one of the most memorable parts about this level itself is a part where you kill a shark and then you ride it.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
All right.
I kind of talked about that.
So by the way, originally I wasn't working on the game, but then I just kept pestering Craig. I'd hear him talking, and then I'd pop in and I'd be like, hey, what if we did this, and this, and then Sam's like, yeah, that'd be cool, So I just kept doing that until finally Craig was like, fuck it, So I heard him talking about this level, and it used to be much more basic. Actually, I think I have nice.
You can buy it.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so the original is we'll show you is just much more basic. And I hear Craig is on a Skype call with Sam. He's like, I don't know, it's just the level needs something more, And originally it was just a fire shark that just would come up.
It's kind of a spoof off of Jaws, just killing a shark and it explodes, and he says,
So I'd already jumped in on the door 5 times on their Skype call. This time I'm like, okay, listen, I know, I'm barging in again. But what if James just fucking rides the fire shark and it just shooting shit, it shoots little baby sharks out of its mouth, just wish that got cut because Craig wanted lasers, but fine. We still argue about that, but I think
what's going on with a laser shooting?
It vomiting baby sharks out of its mouth and rapid fire.
So much on the screen, man. There are limitations.
What
go as early as possible.
I got
go to
test 3.
No, that's just see if you can find it. But the original level was very basic. It was you hopped on it. It was kind of like Mario in Mario World, where you ride the lava and it would slowly move. It was just kind of slowly moving along, and it was just kind of boring. Yeah. Go to
Lava Tunnel.
Yes.
Its original awesome name. There you go. This is what it used to look like.
Really boring. The HUD at the top was just so crappy, and that bar up there was supposed to tell you how many items you had. You couldn't really tell. And you shoot shit. So this is most of the level. And this kind of sucks, And one of those things where you can't be afraid to say something boring or sucks while you're making a game. Because if you think it's boring, people who play the game's gonna be boring. I think it's gonna be boring. So there wasn't a whole lot to it. And as the level kind of got flushed out a little bit more, no, it's actually not this at all. The shark's not this at all. The shark came later, man.
So does the shark.
Not this, but
anyway, this is the end of the level.
Yeah, the end of the test. But there was a lot of that as well. Just a lot of incomplete levels early on, which is the other natural thing. Sure.
I swear.
There's no shark in this chat. The shark was added after you said.
I know the riding shark, but I thought there was one in the water. Oh God, what am I doing?
I'd rather.
Come on, Chad.
I know. You're impatient.
That's also a big key, Chad. Get impatient. That's.
Oh, fine. I'll take my time.
If you play old school games, the number one rule is to be patient. Be patient. Take your time. Otherwise, you being crazy internet guy who likes to get on Twitter every 5 seconds and you have no attention span, it's okay to slow down when you're playing a video game. That's one of the biggest challenges of the game. Slow down, slow down, slow down.
We have a couple of harsh lessons in the game about that, that fireball right after you respawn in Castlevania that comes right up. I'm sure many people experience that. I swear to God, it's a shark.
But there's not even. I'm telling you, the shark was added later. There's no shark.
It's somewhere.
It was added because you said do it.
I thought there were sharks jumping up, and then I was like, what are we doing? Whatever.
All right, so the lava shark was something that was added. Early on, Sam had this idea of having like the stereo sound, which stereo sound is good, but not when you're shooting bullets, right? And the idea was to have, if you have headphones on, you'd hear the bullet go, if you're on the left side of the screen, go from the left side to the right side of the screen. But it had this weird effect where you felt like you were getting sick while listening to it, so we cut that. That wasn't very good. Let's see. Oh, also another fun thing. So one of the more memorable levels of the game is a level based off of one of James's most popular videos, based off the Atari porn video games.
We went back and forth. We went back and forth about whether we were going to do an Atari porn level.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We were going to do it from the start, man. You went back and forth.
Yeah,
I was like,
because I'm like, I mean, I know, but at the same time, it's like, we really just straight up want to make a porn level in our game, like, you know?
well, see, here's the thing. My whole thing was like, you can't make an AVGN game without it being rated at least M, right? Because what's the nerd known for? Cursing, you know, shitting on games, defecating on Bugs Bunny. It's like you have to have that stuff in your game. That is part of the nerd character, and that's one of the biggest struggles when making the game. Is you're not only making a game. You got to make a game for the nerd's audience. You need to make a game that is playable to a new school audience that may not be super familiar with old school games, old school platformers, but you also need to make a game that is faithful to old school platformers, that old school people who have played games since, you know, they started, you know, really the platformer came into fruition in the 80s, can play and think it's hard. So that was like one of the biggest hurdles for sure with the game. But, you know, as far as the porn level goes, well, I wanted to push the game. The game has not been taken to the ESRB yet. It is not, because it's not on any home console. Steam actually doesn't have any sort of verification as far as rating the game, which is actually a pretty awesome thing, because you can put, you know, whatever you want. It's like community driven. And I hope to God, I want to push this game so hard. I want it to get an AO rating. I would love for it to get an AO rating, because then we have to scale it back. Do I think we're going to get an AO rating? No, not at all. I don't think we will even close. But that was kind of the argument. Was like, okay, you kind of got some stuff going on, and you'll see why.
I mean, originally, we originally designed the Atari porn level not in an Atari theme. It was done like a 16-bit, like, and it looks all pretty. It was really awkward because it's like. In James's Atari porn video, you know, it's ha ha ha, look at the little like square pixel dick. I mean, it doesn't look, you know, but we made something that looks too realistic, which I'm going to show you.
Show the finished version first. Show the finished version, and then we'll show.
Well, no.
Yeah. So we're going to show you what if you haven't played the game, you'll see exactly how the Atari porn level looks. It looks like an Atari porn level, right? You know, it's very boxy and not very graphic. You have to use your imagination. And let's see if we can find that real quick.
Old school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't need it for the end of the game, neither the level. This is the final version of the level.
You guys are just in time for porn. Sit down.
Oh, by the way, you're not old enough. Get the hell out.
Yeah. See, it's hilarious because pixelated. It's like, look at this guy.
It's like
Look, I'm sliding.
It's so ridiculous. It's over the top. It's silly. It's crazy, right? You got crazy fountain movies, and you're sliding all over white stuff on the ground. It's gross, right? And it matches, right? So, is everybody?
So you get a good idea, right?
Okay, so this is how we show now what the original level was.
So right here, it's like fun, and you know,
It's
you're
like,
like,
wow,
wow, it's like,
that's-
haha, Atari porn level, right? We decided to change it to that because the original one's just kind of awkward.
And like when you look at it, it's like almost dirty.
It's not like we made the Atari porn level. It's just like we made a porn level. Like, we don't want to be those guys. So
All right, this is the original build. Never seen before. Okay. So, way more detail. And you got the girls working in the background. Let's move a little bit further. You got these little
This
This guy's my favorite. Look at his face. He's so bad.
Good looking.
And like the background looks like it really does look like a strip club back there with the crazy padded walls and such. And I don't know, but it's, oh my, can you make it to the end? Show the general. Okay, so we have the general. The general is the boss, who may or not be a reference to a very popular Atari game. If anyone's familiar with that. So, I don't know what you're talking about. But, so the general is the boss of this level, right? And once again, as a Atari guy, it looks kind of like, I'm not going to say charming, but it looks like, okay, it's kind of funny, right? But when you get, let's see if Chad can make it through this, because this level is actually pretty tough. And once again, Chad makes this look very easy, because we played this for thousands of hours of our life.
I did all the testing for this game.
Still have one in left.
Well, no, we don't have testers.
No, we had something. I know.
Well, which we need to talk about that. We'll talk about the difficulty here. But, so anyways, once we get to the general here at the end, you'll notice. You notice that the death counter counts off right now. And that was actually on purpose, so we could count how many times people died as they're playing. Which, I guess I'll talk about that now. So like during the testing, during the actual testing phase of this, we'd bring in people to play the game, right? And one of the biggest red flags at our game was like really hard, and we wanted to make a hard game right off the bat. We brought in a 16-year-old kid who was a friend of one of our interns at the time, right? You got the mega scope, that's nice. And he came in, he's like, yeah, I'm good at platformers. And he died he died 76 times in the first like.
He has like 7, it was crazy. And so that's when we went from like, ha to, oh shit. Like, it might be too hard.
Yeah. So, we'll see if you can get to the general. This is one of the hardest parts actually to get through this bounce.
Are you gonna release this as DLC?
We thought about doing a code.
Oh yeah, look at
Yeah. Crazy wish.
Also, for some reason, Sam put the witch naked in Blue Haunted House for the first time, and we're just like, what the hell?
Why is she naked?
He's like, well, I don't know, I already had that Sprite. We're like, that's really awkward. Let's not do that. Please, for the love of God, close on the witch.
I mean, it's a horror themed level, but there's no reason to scare people out. But, are you almost there? Whoa! I was always a big fan of like.
We're wearing his brunettes.
You can have both. And that was another. Okay, so the checkpoints in this game.
This game is deceived.
The checkpoints in the game, we think they're actually fairly forgiving. We want to make a game that. Originally, I was like, we need one checkpoint in the game, or one checkpoint each level. But it got a little more ridiculous. And you also notice that you can't see the checkpoints in this build. That was actually a pretty heated debate because in old school games generally you don't see a checkpoint. And I was like, no, you can't see the checkpoint. And eventually we came up with the idea of having the Nintendo toaster as a checkpoint. So, all right, here's the general. Here's the you see, it's pretty graphic.
I don't even think he can die in this one.
Yeah, he actually can't die.
He might be able to see what happens.
No. If you die, it doesn't reset. That's what it is. So, or it just doesn't. Oh, he's still on the rocks.
And it just restarts.
All right. So, anyways, that's the original thing for that. That was never before seen before. So, sorry about that. So another, like we talked about earlier, like our relationship with James and Cinemassacre and everything, and like I said, we have a really good relationship with him, and he trusts us to do, treat his brand properly, right? So as far as development of the game, people are like, hey, does James have a lot of input on the game? And that was something that a lot of people asked. And Chad, you always tell people.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the game was designed by us, but of course, we're not going to make anything angry video game nerd without running it by the angry video game nerd. So, we had the game concept and stuff, we threw it out there, and he's like, yeah, that sounds cool, let's go. And every now and then, we'd send him some screenshots and things like that, and, really cool, looking good,
Yeah, the biggest thing he was like, just don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing he told us for sure.
Well, I remember when we did the pitfall joke. And that was great because I took a picture of that and I sent it off to him and he's like, oh, that's fucking awesome, because in his pitfall video he makes there's this basically a ladder that just leads straight to death. So and he jokes around about let's just lead to death. Why stop there? Why not put some fucking fire sharks and spike walls and it just goes crazy. And so that we made it, so we can actually put that in the game. So we
So why not, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing was like when James and Mike, we have a convention we do down in Dallas called SGC, and this past summer, James and Mike actually got a chance to play the game for the first time at SGC, and that was kind of nerve-wracking because we sent them stuff, but at the same time, you just don't know if somebody's gonna like it until they play it. And like immediately we knew that they dug it. They're like, this is the best thing ever. Like I think they're exactly like James was like, this is fucking awesome. So that was the best thing we could possibly say about the game was if the nerd who digs it, likes it, hopefully everyone else will. So
it was really cool, like, actually getting the game in public hands for like the first time, because we've been playing it, and like, we enjoy it. We got to make a game that we always wanted to make, but at the same time, it's like, oh shit, I hope everybody else likes it.
Yeah.
And that's been a lot of fun too, especially because of how difficult we are, which, by the way, so we have this set up at our booth, so if you guys do want to play it later, we'll have the full building, we'll sit down and play and have some fun. But I had a guys like day one, within like the first hour I had it set up, the guys played it, and finally just like, fucking fuck this, fuck! And he just gets up and just storms off, and I'm just like, yeah. Yeah. But no, that was really cool. So like, for the first time we really got there, we had SGC, which was really cool seeing the feedback of that. But at the same time, that's like straight up put into like directly into our community who love us, So PAX was like the first like real big demo for us. Like we were just like,
SGC was like a more warm and like we felt more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But at PAX there's just everyone knows the PAX is just thousands of people there. And it's one of those things where
PAX is awesome. Like just hearing like the feedback, like we got a pretty overwhelmingly positive feedback, and that was really cool for us. The people were digging the game, and then people thought it was hard. And like we had people that were just coming back to like, because we had a 10-minute timer, and it was like you could play the intro level and future fuck balls, and that was it. And so then I just like started like messing around with like challenges, like if you can beat it without dying, I'll give you a flush, or if you can just beat it, I'll give you this flush,
Yeah.
And we had some guys that would come and just like speed run and like really try and get good at it. Just it was a lot of fun.
That was reassuring because we were like, we're making a game that people want to play over and over again, which is fun. And I know that we enjoy playing it once again.
First time I was like, great, people are coming back to play it again. Yes.
So let's talk about like originally one of the things you'll notice when you first start playing the game is it's hard, but it's forgiving in that on normal mode you're given 30 lives to start off with, which is both a reference to Contra and a reference to the game being hard, right? Or Konami Code. So we initially, like I said, I
had to rein him in.
Yeah, I was very much like, we're sticking to old school stuff. We got one checkpoint per level. It's at the midway point, and you're gonna have 5 lives to start with. That's it.
Yeah, and like 5 continues. You were like 3 continues originally.
Yeah, and it's like 5 lives, 3 continues. That's it. That's all you get. And if you die, it's game over. Fuck it, you start over. Right? And I was very.
And I'm like, hey man, I get it. I want to play that game too, but you gotta remember, like, not everyone and need some other options.
Yeah, and that was the thing is like. When we brought in the kid to test and he died 70-something times, it was like, well, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, that was a big challenge for us, was balancing the game.
Yeah.
And really and that's why there's like a ton of different difficulty settings. So for us, old school is like the way we want it to be played. You can't save, you have 15 lives and 3 continues, I think it's on old school. Or 5 continues. I think we gave him 5.
Yeah.
It's like that's the way it's meant to be played. If you run out, you're totally done. So there's some strategies of like life farming and stuff like that, and then it gets harder and harder with extra difficulties you get to unlock.
The biggest thing with that was I wanted the default mode to be old school mode because it's an old school game, and that was definitely some conversation at the office for sure. It should probably be on normal mode, and normal should have this, and because it's so you don't think about where the cursor starts when you start the game, right? You don't think about that stuff when you're like making this. We should have started on the normal mode, or should have started on the old school mode? Or should start on the old school mode? No, we should start on the normal mode. No, it should start on and it's just one of those things where I don't know, you get blinded by your own.
No, I'm just kidding.
You did win, yeah. So I guess it was old school game. Can you imagine people playing the game starting on old school mode because the cursor's on that, and if people think it's hard now, they would just totally fucking rage quit, without even starting.
Even on normal, the fact that you have infinite continues, but you have limited lives. So if you get to the very last boss and it's taking you 30 lives to get there, you finally met the boss, and then he kills you. You have to start the whole level over again. So that's still pretty frustrating for a lot of people. And we saw that in doing the demos and stuff, and seeing people basically, get crushed at like right at the end and then have to do it all over again. And it's good, it trains you up, but at the same time it's like, man, they started old school, like just 15 laps. So.
Yeah.
Which is fun to see people who get really cocky and they sit down and they're like, oh, old school, man, I want to play old school, and they just get obliterated in like 5 seconds. Like, yeah, I told you.
Yeah, totally about that. Let's talk about the testing side of things. And you have, testing a video game.
If you think you ever, like, a lot of people have that, like, oh, I'd love to be a video game tester and just sit around and play video games all day. Fuck that. Because I was like, I got like, by the end of it, like, I got brought in like the middle of the project, you know, and then like by the end, like, I like did nothing but play this game.
And you still died.
I broke a brand new 360 controller in a week, like, just by playing this thing. Like, and my thumbs were just destroyed, like, because like my goal was just like, break it in every way I possibly can. So that means I had to like, you know, try crazy stupid things. Like I had to die like everywhere in the game. That's horrible. Like, so it starts out as fun, like, you know, when you're just like, I'm gonna play through the game and see if any bugs happen. Okay, cool, no, everything was okay, there's a little thing here. Like, that's kind of fun, just playing through the game, and you start to be like, okay, getting better, and I've played this a lot. And then really, like, when you're like, just like, okay, well shit, what happens if this character falls here? Okay, now what happens if this character falls here? Okay, what if I hit this and then fall? Like, you have to just try and set up like every ridiculous scenario that somebody could do, and so you're spending just a ton of time just sitting here killing yourself over and over and over again, and then it's like, what if they run out of lives on this level? Kill yourself 30 times on this difficulty. Then do it for every single difficulty setting. Like, so.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I heard something with like, okay, Call of Duty, it's like the thing everybody loves to hate, right? In the gaming community, it's Call of Duty, but I heard this thing from one of my PR friends who talked about the testing of Call of Duty, and they spend months and months testing Call of Duty, and no matter how much time, how many people they have testing on it, in the first 10 minutes of the game out, more people play the game in the first 10 minutes of its release than the entire time of them testing it with as many people as they brought in. So no matter how much you try to test the game, there will always be something broken in it. Always. No matter how much you think it's
You want to know what our big one was?
Bingo! Let's get to that.
So, this is a pretty interesting little bug we found out about our engine.
As we were streaming, we like, this is, so
I have like crushed this thing. Like, I mean, like, tried to find like every bug, and I'm like, okay, we're good. There's no major bugs. If anything pops up, it's gonna be little. So we're streaming the damn thing, and we get to the final boss.
On release day.
Yeah. We're at the final boss. This is literally, the game is out and live, and then the game just, it locks up and crashes. And I'm just like, no! And like, I just look at Craig, and he's like already got an email just going to our developer. So, that plagued us. If you guys bought it like first, it only happened to some people at random times, and it would only happen on the final boss. So there's people who like finally worked so hard to get there, and then it crashed. It's like the worst thing imaginable in my mind.
The boss crash.
So
the final boss crash. Is that
the final boss crash? Yeah. So I'm just like ripping this thing apart, trying to figure out how it happens, whatever. And like Sam's just like frantically, and I'm like, we have to fix this. Why did this happen now that it's live? It never crashed on me. He's like, I don't know. So like we're just like trying to figure it out. What it ended up being, and my hat is off to Sam for figuring this out, because you remember that this bug would happen in an early build of the game during cutscenes. And he's like, so he figures out, he's like, okay, well there was text going on. Here's what happens. In the Macromedia Flash engine, basically when it's playing a text sound for the text to appear, it's a tick, 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 it goes play, sound, stop, right? Play, sound, stop, play, sound, stop. If there's no music in the background, it gets confused. And it can basically like play, sound, stop, and it'll throw like a stop sound, but there's no sound technically going, game locks, crashes. That is literally it, the text sound. So you'll notice now, there's nice little ambient music in the background of the final boss when he's doing his text thing, because that's all it needed was an audio file, so that if it tries to stop sound when there's nothing there, if there's a background soundtrack, it's fine. Yeah. But that wasn't even our build, that was an engine problem. You know, so like, oh man, yeah. Once we figured that out, that was, thank God.
Initially, the idea was to have the boss is supposed to appear, is supposed to be silent, just with, think like Mega Man 2, where, you go into the final stage, it's all silent, you just hear dripping and stuff. And that was kind of the idea behind it, it's just silent. You got a couple explosions going on in the background, and then you got text dialogue, but...
It took us like a week to figure that out, and the whole time, like, I'm like watching people stream. You know, it's like it started out like watch people stream. This is awesome. I can see people's reaction. Look at them, they're getting all pissed off at our game, and then they get happy. But then they like start coming to final boss, and I'm just like, please.
Yeah, it was extremely. It was such a small
minority.
percentage.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like like less than
I think it happened to Tom.
0.5%. And
Did it happen to you, Tom? Did it ever happen to you?
Yeah, it did. On hard as balls mode.
Yeah, it's hard as balls.
I got a screen cap of it and I said, no! And Sam saw it and said, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm working on it right now.
That was rough, man. That was rough. But at the end of the day, we got it fixed and we feel better about it now. It's one of those things where you can't predict it. You can't predict it at all. Which I think from our standpoint now, we look at things a lot different when we're actually playing games and we go, this sucks. Why don't they fix it right now at this second? Well, it actually takes time to do that stuff, you know, and that kind of puts things in perspective for us. So,
Yeah.
I'm done with everything on that sheet of paper.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun making a game. But we're gonna do some Q&A.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about the game? Because actually, I do have. We have secret codes that have not been found in the game that I was going to share with you guys today. We have.
We have even more.
Yes, yeah. I have 2 new codes that have not been found yet, which you'll have to wait for till the end of the thing.
I didn't even test it on this build we haven't seen.
I don't think I will ban these builds. But yeah, if you have questions, by all means, raise your hand, and I'm glad to answer them.
What did you guys think of the in-character AVGN review of your game?
Yeah.
That was fun. So we were talking to James about like, you know, what we wanted to do, and like, you know, he's like, I wanted to do like an episode on AVGN games forever, and he's like, this will be perfect, because we were originally talking about just buying games out and doing like a live stream and like playing the game and stuff. But then he's like, no, I wanted to do an episode on the AVGN games forever, because it's just so weird to me that people are making games about me playing games, you know. So you know, we were like, do your thing, man. We had zero input like on his review of the game, so that was 100% whatever he wanted to say.
I think one of the biggest problems, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but one of the biggest struggles that, and James said to us, was like, I like the game, so it's hard to really, what he told me was that he didn't want it to come off as like a big promotional tool for the game, because he like legitimately wanted to like review it, and he did, but the problem is he likes the game, so he, you know, he would find stuff. The difficulty is obviously the biggest thing to rag on in the game, you know. So,
which if you notice in his video, he's playing on easy.
yes. Which, by the way, you can always tell if you're watching anybody's stream. Immediately, you can tell what difficulty they're playing on by the color of their gun.
Yep.
So, you know, just you know that he's playing on easy very quickly. So, yeah, it was cool. It was neat for sure, and we hoped he would do it. And obviously, we don't control his production, so you know, it's one of those things where if he makes it, awesome. If he doesn't, cool. We just wanted to be honest about it, you know, or anything. So.
I'm curious, just through development, did you use any other programs aside from Multimedia Fusion 2, or is this just purely?
That'd be more of a question for a developer, but I mean, the whole game was pretty much built in that, and then like he would. By the way, it's pretty much just one guy.
Yeah, that's one thing that we would like to tell you is that
Sam is a monster. Like he did everything from like music, which the music is one of the best parts of our game. Which this is pretty cool. So like, you know, we've had the game for a little bit, and like, then we start getting more levels, and with a new level, we get like a new soundtrack, and we're just like, this is freaking good. Like, you know, like Craig and I are just like, yeah, like, you know, this is really awesome. So we find out that he used to be like premier dude on OC Remix for a while.
Yeah.
And like, so yeah, we got like the whole package with Sam. We're very, very thankful. That guy's a beast, and he did have a friend who helped out a little bit with some sprite artwork, but most everything was done by him. So,
yeah, in Multimedia Fusion. Now, as we port the game to home consoles, which hopefully is coming in 2014, which I'm sure will be a question as, that will obviously use different technology for that. So, and we'll be using a separate company. Sam knows
mobile and PC.
Yeah, he knows mobile and PC very well, but the home console stuff is something that's foreign to him. So we're going to be using a separate company with that. So, yeah.
You guys have any plans to port it to Mac and Linux on there?
Mac and Linux, we really want to do Mac. We talked about that, and then Steve announced their OS, so that'll make us really consider Linux. But yeah, we want to do Mac. It's just we want to do Mac. We want to do home consoles.
It's like a different language, you know. That's
yeah, it is. It's just there are people who speak that language, and it's finding somebody who will do that that won't like charge us the ridiculous astronomical amount that we would never actually make money or even break
Just
even.
break even. That was the goal of the whole thing. Just break even. Or we have it, so we can do it again. The man with the cape.
Were you ever thinking about making a video game based on the happy video game character, or even there an irate gamer video?
You know, it's funny because that's something that, not specifically with those two guys, but I know that we would love to do more games based around internet personalities, for sure.
Yeah, we've got some talks going.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows?
I have two questions. So, what are your favorite levels in the game, and what is that like? You know, in the game where you have that one moment where everyone rage quits. What's that moment? Like after you fix that one bug.
Sure.
Yeah, well, there's that. That damn bug.
What's your level?
It's so hard. Like I really liked Happy Fun Candy Time the first time I played it.
The idea behind Happy Fun Candy Time initially was the final boss wasn't the unicorn initially. It was supposed to be, like the level was supposed to ramp up in happiness as it went along, like more and more, and just get so ridiculously stupid happy by the time you're done, that the final boss of the level was supposed to be this like happy, ridiculous smiley face, just like shaking from happiness and just like ah. And but we figured putting a unicorn shitting rainbows would be pretty good too. So
I was like, it's gotta be like a unicorn, and they're like shit rainbows. And then, yeah.
But actually, with that level, one thing that you see in the trailers, that level initially was going to be a like an auto scroll level. Kind of like a Mario 3 where you're jumping from thing to thing, but the screen moves and the level totally moves with it. That's how it was, but we decided against that.
Yeah, but probably I think my favorite level is Life Arts Consumed, and that's just because I got to put the character riding a giant fire shark that shoots lasers.
It's Chad's Connie moment.
Yeah. In terms of Rage Quit, there are parts of the game that used to be harder that have been toned back.
For instance, the birds shitting. The birds that fly over and they poop, they used to poop and then spout, they used to splatter, and the splatter would hurt you too. And that was like, okay, it was happening out, it was too hard, we had to change that.
Yeah, the first time going through Dungeons and Dickles, that was a brutal beating, and I almost rage quit, especially when we've done some things to make it very clear, like of the path to take, because that level's kind of interesting, because it's, like, a few games where you more exploratory, so you go around and then back and then go through doors and things like that. So originally, I was playing through it the first time, and I go up these little invisible blocks, go through this hellish thing, then I die like 1,000,000 times, then I'm coming around and I'm like, oh, well, there's some invisible blocks, I better go back up those, and then I hit a previous checkpoint, and lost all of what I had done, and I'm just like, so that was a rage quit moment for me, and right away, I was just like, I think I titled the email, "Fuck you, Sam." I was like, I went through this whole thing, and then I went back up the damn thing, and I'm like, we basically, and that was a big issue, was like with the people who we had to play our game, let's see what they do, and they kept going up that damn thing, so we made it super obvious, where it's like, follow this path, don't go up, so there's that part, and then the first time I played the final boss, that was brutal. You can ask them, I would not move or leave or do anything until I beat that boss, and my whole arm was sore, because at the time I was just trying to get as many hits in as I could, and I was torn up from that thing, but
Yeah, for me,
favorite level of Rage Quit.
yeah, I really like the snow level.
Because you can ride Santa's corpse.
You can ride Santa, a dead Santa, which is pretty awesome.
And you're in it as a boss.
And I'm a boss in it, or the Ghost of Christmas, Past is a ghost who looks like me. Yeah, I think that's my favorite level. And I also like the fact that you can use Bullshit Man to find a cameo in it. That we try to do that with the cameos characters, where you can only find certain things if you have certain characters.
You want to see how OP Bullshit Man used to be?
Bullshit Man used to be ridiculously overpowered, but he didn't have an double jump. So
what build do you think that would have been?
I don't know. There's so many builds. So yeah, I think that as far as rage quit moments, I gotta be honest, easy.
Alright, whatever, it's taking too long to find it. But his projectile now, does that little like droop down. He used to just straight up, like across the screen, and it was faster, and it was like one shot anything.
It was like
And
a
then-
shit Dukin.
That was a hard part about the game too, was like balancing all the characters. And like, that we're just dealing with like 4 in a platforming shooter. So like, I can't even imagine like trying to balance a fighter, but it's just like, you know, making all the characters kind of enticing that you want people to play the difference. Because when Bullshit Man was the way he used to be, like, I was just like, I'm not using anybody else. Like, and so I just go through the game as Bullshit Man, just like blasting away. And so,
And he used to be able to
switch characters like
switch
in the
character in
air.
the air, so you jump with Mike, get really
And
high.
switch to Bullshit Man and then blast them away. Like it was, yeah.
I was like, that probably needs to be changed. Yeah, you know,
Sorry.
like I gotta be honest, like I never really had a huge rage quit moment. I'm not a guy who's one to like really throw controllers unless I'm fighting Mike Tyson. And
When we got the final boss, because you didn't beat it at first. Remember? Because you
Yeah.
were playing, and then you were like, fuck this, and then you walked out.
there's a lot of fuck this moments. There's not a lot of like rage quit moments for sure. I like I said, I like to be patient, so I like to think I'm immune to the throwing of the controller. Most of the time, there's very few times in my life I've thrown a controller. But all right, what else? Let's go back.
Do you guys have like data from like users on Steam, like percent of people who finish the game, like do you have access to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, not on this computer, but
So we know.
I mean, you can actually see that.
Yeah, you can see it yourself. It's actually there. From what we know, there's one guy who's beat the game on the hardest difficulty, which the hardest difficulty is called YOLO, and YOLO is one hit you're dead, no extra life.
If you ever take a hit, it's game over, and your weapon is reduced.
Yeah, and
That's
you're
as
being
much
much
damage. So it's insane, and yeah, so somebody apparently did that. So.
Should I send them a prize?
One dude.
Well, we need, the thing is like a guy, like actually there's 2 guys on our community that have the achievements.
So
Like,
2
it seemed
guys.
legit that they did it, but I was just like, send me proof. Like, you know, like I know they have the achievement, but there's ways to hack that stuff in Steam, so it's like, I'm just like, just send me like a video of you doing it or whatever, so I can make sure it wasn't like,
Do the most impossible thing ever again.
yeah. Well, that's the thing, I was like, just, do you have any proof of it? He's like, no, not besides the achievement or whatever. I'm like, we'd like to reward on, you know.
Yeah,
just,
for sure.
you know,
And
make sure it's legit.
I still would love to do contests like on YouTube or like live stream, like on Twitch or something, to where we do like some sort of speed run or some sort of bigger contest where there are prizes involved. I'd love to do something like that for sure. What else? Anybody else got anything?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah, I know you pop in a lot on the streams and stuff. What were your favorite, either just community rage quits or just moments in general?
Dude, that's an awesome question. That was my favorite part about AVGN Adventures was once it was out, because then it was just like, I get to watch people like, holy shit, people are streaming the game we made, you know? So like, I loved going into live stream. I probably hit up like every single live stream of AVGN Adventures in like the first few weeks especially. Like I still pop in, and I'd go in and like talk to people and then like, we're playing our game, there's a moment you can watch it. It's like it's been archived on Steam, and it's like I clicked on it because it was titled something like "I finally fucking beat this fucking game," like just like really pissed. And it's this dude, and so I'm watching. And he's at Fred Bucks, and he's just been going and just like he's just getting and he had to do the level over again and over again. This is just on like normal, and so like. And he keeps game over and he's keep going back, and so then finally he's there. He's just like, just so intense. He's like, and then he beats it, and he's just like, yeah, and just loses his mind. He's just so happy, like falls out of his chair, and he's just like, yeah, and you can tell that he's just like so just elated and happy, you know, and like it's just like fuck yeah, like that's why we make the game. Why we made the game. That's why we made the game hard. We made it frustrating because like I miss those moments it gave me like. Because nowadays, again, you can beat a game and you're just like, beat it.
you're gonna win in 6
You know,
hours.
it's like, yeah, just beat it. Got the achievement. Or like, you know, talk friend, like, oh yeah, beat the other day. It was actually really good. Yeah, I like the way the story was. You're just like that. You know, you beat it. You know you're gonna beat it. But like in AVGN Adventures, you beat the game and you're just like, if you get people just like falling out of their chairs, screaming and like crying tears of happiness, then you know that was like my
That's
favorite.
pretty rewarding, yeah, for sure. What else? Anybody else got?
Was there stuff you guys had to like cut out because the scope was getting too big?
There were some levels that we talked about that are still on the drawing board that are just kind of sitting there. We were talking, and there was initially we were going to have some skins for the characters that you could unlock by beating the game. but just it was really tough because we had to release it. We had to release it then because if we didn't release it in late September, James does Movie Monster Madness all through October. So the release of the game would get buried on his channel if we didn't release it then. And if we waited until November, guess what? Video game consoles are coming out. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So it's like...
So instead we went up against GTA 5.
Yeah, so we're releasing the same thing here in the Auto 5. So,
but,
screw you, Rockstar.
No, I'll tell you what I really wanted. So after the lava shark in Knife Arts Museum, there's that part where you're going upwards up the ladders and things like that. I really wanted the lava to rise. So that was something that we had talked about, and it was like we're so close, and Sam's just like, stop adding shit. You know, no, sorry, fine, we won't make the lava rise. You know, like
there were some, actually, you can swatch it over if you want to put something on it. I have a skin that actually didn't make the game, and we'll see if you guys get this reference. I can bring it over from my computer. This is something I really wanted to do in the game, and it's over. But just while I'm transferring this over, some other skins that we wanted to have. We wanted, let's see, guitar guy. Let's see, Mike. We wanted to have like a Rex Rabbit costume, like running around in. We wanted the nerd obviously to have a Board James costume. Bullshit Man, we're gonna put him in a tuxedo because we just thought like this guy running around in shit with a tuxedo on would be funny.
Yeah, we also wanted more like skins as like for different characters. Like so, you could put in code and then maybe like okay. Here's one thing that we talked about, and this may come in the future. We'll see. So we have a lot of codes that haven't been discovered yet. This one does not exist, but it's one that I really want. So we talked about having a God mode, right, where you can't die. But I actually then wanted James to be like dressed up as God. So he's in God mode, he's got the flowing white beard and like robes and stuff. But stuff like that is you have to then make an animation, you have to make a sprite for every single animation and stuff. And we wanted to be playable, we wanted to be able to put in a code instead of James, like it's me, so that I could do that when I'm playing the game and just sit down and be like, just put in a code. Yeah, that's me, I'm in a game.
The thing about God mode though was that God mode, like you didn't do anything special, you were just dressed as God. Like there was nothing special about it at all. It was God mode, you dressed as God. Justin. See if you guys get this reference.
Oh, I know.
View at the top.
You.
No, that's sorry. Sorry.
You gotta
Surely you guys get the reference, yes? Oh, it's super small, but... Yeah, does anybody get the reference? Yes? Okay, cool. That's obviously a reference to Samus and the original Metro. And with this, the Justin Bailey code. So that's something that we wanted to do for sure, and get to know that. Okay, we got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, let's give away. Let's show a code. I think I might have a little bit of work on it. So.
Okay. Any other questions while Chad's getting this set up?
I was wondering, I know that was asked earlier, but what engine did you use, and do you think it was a sequel?
Sure. Yeah, well, it was developed in Multimedia Fusion 2, and this sequel is. I don't know, we'll see. One thing we've talked about doing that I think would be amazing to do, we would love to do, I don't even know if I get this title right. Angry Video Game Nerd, the movie, the game, based off the web series, based off the game. We want the title to be all that, as long as it can possibly be.
Yeah, so you guys know James been working on his movie and stuff, so that's something we've talked to him about, maybe making a movie game and not making it suck.
Or making it suck
on purpose.
No.
Stuck the LJ again.
Yeah. All right, so I'll tell you what. Do you want me to tell them the codes?
Give me a second.
Okay. Do you know how to do them? All right, cool. So this is a code called Super Mega Death Pony 2000 VC mode.
This one was my idea. This is okay, it's funny and it's really easy for Sam to do. Let's continue, yeah.
So this is a code that is designed to take. This is just for fun. Just take Super Mega Death Christ and replace him with a pony. Replace him with a pony. That actually the pony you fight on this level. Just a sprite, pretty much a sprite change, but it's just something fun to do, and it makes the game more ridiculous.
Just gotta go get one.
You gonna go find us?
Secrets!
Secrets,
Alright, so instead of Super Mega Death Prize,
Just a giant thing comes through.
this is a fun little code.
Yeah, it's stupid, it's fun.
And that one is,
Oh yeah. How to do that code? It is
up, Y, up.
it's pretty easy, right?
That one hasn't been found yet.
So congratulations on that. Let's do the next one, which is always have the mega scope, right?
Which hasn't been found yet.
Yeah. So this is a code that is based around always having the best weapon in the game, no matter how many times you get a hit. It essentially makes you the all-powerful being, and just you can destroy everything from a mega scope. What it says you are. So you start with it. You will go ahead and start in the game. So you literally start with the mega scope. Okay, no matter how many times you get hit, you can just wreak destruction on everything.
By the way, we thought ahead to all of you who are planning your Steam achievements and things like that. The Steam achievements will not unlock if you have a code.
Suckers! But it just destroys everything. It's pretty nice. So there's one code. You can do that code. Think,
The Flintstones.
yeah, think the Flintstones, right? Yabba-dabba-doo, right? It's Y-A-B-B-A down A-B-B-A. Yabba-dabba, right?
That one's right.
That would be, thank you for that. So, yabba-dabba. There's also...
Sorry, I like rude.
Yeah, you're good at that game.
Anyway, well, look, I still have it. I died yet.
Go back and let's do the. Who has not played this game? Okay, cool. Do you want to show them what happens when you put the economy code in, or no? Okay, the economy code. Oh, fun. It's just a fun little problem.
Yeah, that was fun too, because like the Steam community, I sort of was like, someone's like, is there any codes for the game? He's like, oh, I'm gonna go try the Konami code. And then it comes back, it's like, fuck you guys.
There's one more code that nobody's found yet that I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's the most powerful code in the game. But I will tell you that you know the code if you've watched the Nerds videos, right? And I will tell you what it's do.
Different one. I'm just showing him something.
This is not the most
Steam
powerful
community
code.
already knows about this.
Yes.
But how can we make a game without doing big head moves?
Yeah, Big Head looks pretty awesome. But the most powerful secret in the game actually unlocks everything in all levels from the start. So you start with everything, and once again, if you're familiar with the Nerds videos, you already know this code. It's probably one of your favorite sequences ever.
Shut up, you're teasing it hard, man. You're gonna figure it out.
That's the idea. It's a team.
We gotta save some, man.
And it involves planes. That's all I'm
Oh
gonna say.
god, well now every single person just went, oh!
Well, the game's been out for 4 months, man. Once you get into these, they don't get any Steam achievements. No. There's hedgehog mode.
This is the hardest fucking thing.
This makes you move like a familiar blue hedgehog.
Yeah,
Sonic!
It's really cool. Sam changed the game physics, so basically it plays like Sonic. So there's momentum now. So
I can't imagine doing this with momentum.
it's so hard.
The only thing missing is really like the nerd turning into a ball at the end of the spin dash. It just feels way more, it's like slidey and pretty good stuff. But anyways, do you want to show them what that final code is? As you're just pretty much going through everything. We do a lot of codes that have not been found yet. And that was
I hate inputting this code.
Got it. All right, there you go. So, anyways, just go home and try that for yourself. Like I said, we didn't tell you what it is, but we gave you a pretty good hint as to where to find it and how to do it. So, there's that. Anything else you want to add, man?
You actually have to, but look, you have all the characters.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
cool.
No, I mean, it's just come by the booth if you haven't played it, and
Imagine, I have one thing.
Yeah, what's up?
Imagine if Captain N the Game Master met AVGN in the cartoon. What would he think?
Captain N was
Game
in the
Master.
Yeah, Captain N was in this universe.
No, Captain N the Game Master.
Yeah.
If he
Played this.
If he made the
If you played this,
No, imagine
probably go into
if
shock
if
if
he
he
met
played
the
the entire
AVGN,
tournament.
what would he have to? What would they both have to say?
Oh, they'd probably be, bros, be like, just like, dude, I play a bunch of shitty games. It's like, if you play shitty games, I fucking had to get sucked into it, man. Like, Mega Man smoking like 20 packs a day. Like,
you got Mother Brain.
Game Boys and yeah. Like, Mother Brain's always coming after me. Get on that clan, wizard!
Anyways, that's it. We want to thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with us today. The game's available on Steam right now. It is